So my code starts off declaring the variable exit as y, which is y for yes, and that's just temporarily so that the code continues to run, because this entire program is wrapped up in one while statement or while loop, which is the exit loop. So then while exit is y or capital Y for yes, then it's gonna continue with the code. So then the first part is asking the customer or the user what the customer code is. So at the same time as it's printing out what the customer code is, shown right here, it's also asking the user for for an input. And while the customer code, so this next line checks if the input is correct. So it's either R, C, or I, lowercase and capital. So while customer code is not any of those, then it's gonna ask the customer or the user to input another one. So it's gonna say invalid entry, please try again. It's just gonna start a new line and ask for the customer code. But then if it's one of the correct inputs, so R, C, or I, then it's gonna continue with the code. And then the next part is gonna ask the customer or the user for customer begin. So it's gonna do the same thing as well as printing out beginning meter reading. Is gonna ask the user for the input. So then after that, this variable is declared. It's called length begin, and is basically just going to check the length of the customer beginning meter reading. So it uses the function len to check the length. And while the length is not equal to 9, because 9 is the only correct input or correct amount of digits that the meter reading can be, so while it's not 9, it's going to ask the user to enter a correct one. So it's going to again say invalid entry, please try again, and then in a new line ask beginner meter reading and then the user's input. But if then the next part after that is just going to check the length or set the length begin variable to the new length of the length of the new customer begin that the user inputted. But if it's correct, the correct input, so if it's 9 digits, then it's going to continue with the code. So it's going to say customer begin is going to be the customer begin. And then this part just changes the variable type or the type into an integer. So then the same thing's going to happen with customer end. It's going to ask the user for an input, it's going to set the length of the number or of the input that the user put. And then it's going to check, if it's not 9, then it's going to ask them again, and then set the new length, and then check it again. But then if it is 9, then it's going to set customer end to the integer. So then the next part is going to be all the calculations, so all this is pretty much the same. So I set two variables, gallons and bills, to 0 temporarily, and then if it's R for residential, then it's going to do all the calculations. Similar to project 2, same with C for commercial users, it's going to do the calculations, and then same with I for industrial users. And then after all the calculations are done and it prints out the gallons of water used and then amount billed, similar to project 2, all that's still the same. So after all the calculations, it's going to now go into the exit portion of the code. So we're going to go back to where exit was declared as yes. So now exit's going to be equal to what the user inputs. So then it's going to ask, would you like to make another calculation? And then new line just so it looks nicer. And while exit is neither capital or lowercase y or capital or lowercase n, so if the user puts neither y or n, then it's gonna ask the user to try again. So it's gonna say please type y or n, and then a new line just so it looks nicer. But then if it is a correct one, so either y or n, it's just gonna continue with the program. So if it's y, then it's gonna go all the way back to the top and start the whole program again from here or from here. But then if it is no, then it's going to go to this section, this else statement, which is just simply going to print goodbye. So now to run some test cases, let's just hit run model or module. Sorry, this was previous testing. So let's say the customer code is incorrect. So let's say I put T. It's going to say invalid entry, please try again. I can put, let's say, capital F. It's incorrect, so let's put a correct one. So let's say C. I can put capital C. Then it's going to move on to the beginning meter reading. So if I put, let's say, like a meter reading with 10 digits, which is incorrect, I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that would be wrong, so it's going to say invalid entry, please try again. So if I even put a negative number, so -1, it's going to say invalid entry, please try again. Do 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, it's going to be wrong. So it's going to ask the user again, and let's put a correct one, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then it's going to move on to end meter reading, same thing. I can put a negative number, it's going to say it's wrong. 10 digits, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's going to say it's wrong. And put 0, it's still wrong. So then if I put a correct one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then it's going to do the calculations. It's going to say gallons of water used is 0.8, amount billed is $1,000. So would you like to make another calculation? Let's say if I put yes, then we can continue. Let's just do the same thing. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then it's going to say, would you like to make another calculation? I put N, even capital N, and it's going to say goodbye.